So, hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. And today I am going to discuss a new movie, and the movie name is Oppenheimer. And this movie made in 2023. So, let's start the review. Oppenheimer is a 2023 epic biometrical thriller film written co-produced by directed by Christopher Nolan, and it follows the life of J. Robert and Oppenheimer, the American theoretical physicist and who helped develop the first nuclear weapons during World War II. Based on the 2005 biography American Prometheus by Kai Bird and Martin J. Servin. The film dramatizes Oppenheimer's studies, his direction of the Los Alamos Laboratory, and his 1954 security hearing. Cillian Murphy stars as Oppenheimer alongside Robert and Downey Jr. as the United States Atomic Energy Commission member Louis Strauss. The assembled supporting cast includes Emily Blunt, Matt Damon, and Florence Pugh, Josh Hartnett, and Casey Affleck, Rami Malek, and Kenneth Branagh. And the Oppenheimer was announced in September 2021. It was Nolan's first film not distributed by Warner Bros. Pictures since Memento 2000 due to his conflicts regarding the studio's simultaneous theatrical and HBO's Max release schedule, and Murphy was the first cast member to join, with the rest joining between November 2021 and April 2022, and pre-productions begins by January 2022, and filming took place from February to May, and the cinematographer Hoyte van Hoytema used a combination of IMAX 65 mm and 65 mm large format films, including the first time selected scenes in IMAX black and white film photography. As the many of his previous films, Nolan used extensive practical effects with minimal compositing, and Oppenheimer premiered at Le Grand Rex in Paris on Tuesday, July 11, 2023, and was theatrically released in the United States and the United Kingdom on July 21st by Universal Pictures, and its concurrent release with Warner Bros. Barbie was the catalyst of the Barbenheimer, and the phenomenon encouraging audiences to see both films as a double feature. Oppenheimer received a critical acclaim and grossed $975 million worldwide, becoming the third highest grossing film of 2023 and the highest grossing World War II related film, the highest grossing biographical film, and the second highest grossing R rated film for all time at the times of its release, and the recipient of many accolades. Oppenheimer was nominated for 13 awards at the 96th Academy Awards and won 7, including Best Pictures, Best Directors, and Nolan Best Actors, Murphy the Best Supporting Actors, Downey, and it also was 5 Golden Globe Awards, including Best Motion Pictures Drama and 7 British Academy Films Awards, including Best Films, and was named one of the top 10 films of 2023 by the National Boards of Review and the American Film Institute. So now here you can see a theatrical release poster of this movie, and here is the Murphy's picture, and this was the great image, great edited, and the movie is directed by Christopher Nolan and screenplay by Christopher Nolan, based on American Prometheus by Kai Bird and Martin J. Servin, produced by Emma Thomas, Charles Rowan, Christopher Nolan, and starring by Cillian Murphy, Emily Blunt, Matt Damon, Robert Downey Jr., and Florence Pugh. Cinematography by Hoete Van Hoetema, edited by Jennifer Lane, music by Ludwig Göranssons, and production companies Universal Pictures and Syncope, Atlas Entertainment, and Breakheart Films, Peters Craig and Entertainment, and Gazette Films. Distributed by Universal Pictures, and release dates is July 11, 2023, Le Grand Rex, and July 21st, 2023. United States and United Kingdom. And rating time is 180 minutes. Countries is United States, United Kingdom. Languages is English, and budget is $100 million. Box office is $975.8 million. And so now let's talk about one cast. Here is the two pictures. You can see Cillian Murphy left place, J. Robert Oppenheimer. Okay, and Cillian Murphy as J. Robert Oppenheimer, a theoretical physicist and director of the Los Alamos Laboratory, and Emily Blunt as Catherine Kitty Oppenheimer, Robert Oppenheimer's wife and a former Communist Party USA member. Matt Damon as Jan Leslie proves a United States Army Corps of Engineers USAC officers and director of the Manhattan Project, and Robert Downey Jr. as Rear Admiral Louis Strauss, retired Naval Reserve officers and high-ranking members of the U.S. Atomic Energy Commission's AEC, and Florence Pugh as Jean Tetlock, a physicist, a Communist Party USA member, and Robert Oppenheimer's romantic interest. And Josh Hartnett as Ernest Lawrence, a Nobel winning nuclear physicist who worked with Oppenheimer at the University of California, Berkeley, and Casey Affleck as Boris Pass as a U.S. Army military intelligence officers and commanders of the Alsos mission, and Rami Malek as David L. Hill, a nuclear physicist at the metallurgical laboratory who helped to create the Chicago file, and Kenneth Baranaga as Niels Bohr, a Nobel winning Danish physicist, uh, philosopher, and Oppenheimer's personal ideal. Benny Sevdai as Edward Taylor, a Hungarian theoretical physicist known for being the father of the hydrogen bomb. Jason Clarke as Roger Robb, an attorney and future U.S. Circuit Judge who served as special counsel to the AEC at Oppenheimer's security hearing, and Dylan Arnold as Frank Oppenheimer's Robert's younger brother, and a particle physicist who worked on the Manhattan projects, and Tom Conti as Albert Einstein's Nobel winning German theoretical physicist known for developing the theory of relativity. James D. Archie as Patrick Blackett, Oppenheimer's doctoral supervisor and Nobel winning physicist at Cambridge University, and David Destamatians as William L. Bordens, a lawyer and executive director of the United States Congressional Joint Committee on Atomic Energy, and Denny Essen as Ms. Kenneth Nichols, a United States Army Corps of Engineers and the Deputy District Engineers of the Manhattan Project, and Eldon Henry Rich as a senior aide to Louis Strauss during Strauss's nominations for United States Secretary of Commerce, and Tony Goldwyn as Gordon Gray, a government official and chairman of the committee deciding the revoking of Oppenheimer security clearance. Jefferson Hall as Hawken Chevalier, a Berkeley professor who becomes friends with Oppenheimer at university and was central to the Chevalier incident. David Krumholtz as Isaiah Ishak Levy, a Nobel Prize winning physicist who worked as a consultant on the Manhattan Project, and Matthew Modine, a Vanisher Bush head of the Office of Scientific Research and Development, and Scott Grimes as counsels to Louis Strauss, Kurt Koehler as Thomas Morgan, and industrialist and former chairman of the board of the Sperry Corporation, who was one of the panel members at Oppenheimer's security clearance hearing. John Govans as Ward V. Ward V. Evans, a chemist and academic who served as one of the panel members at Oppenheimer's security clearance hearing. Macon Blair as Lloyd K. Garrison, a lawyer who helped the represents Oppenheimer at his security clearance hearing. Uh, Gregory Javara as Sen Warren Magnesius, chairman of Senate Commerce Committee. Harry Georginer as Sense Gillet W. McGee and Tim Dekay as Sense John Pastore. Matthias Schweitzer as Vanna and Heinsberg, a German Nobel Prize winning physicist who worked in Germany's nuclear weapons program during World War II, and Alex Wolff as Louis Walter Alvarez, a Nobel winning physicist who worked on the Manhattan Project, and Josh Jackman, Giovanni Roggi Lomanetz, a physicist who becomes Oppenheimer's protege at Berkeley, and Rory Keane as Halton Sander, a physicist who collaborated with Oppenheimer to calculate the gravitational collapses of a dust particle sphere. And Michael Angarano as Robert Serbers, a physicist who worked on the Manhattan Project. Britt Kyle as Barbara Sivilius Hockey's wife, and Emma Demont as Jackie Oppenheimer, Frank's wife, and Robert's sister-in-law. Guy Burnett as Georgia C. Eltenan, a chemical engineer in the US with ties to the Soviet Union. Loewe as Ruth Tolman, a physicalist, psychologist, close to Oppenheimer's during the development of the atomic bomb. Tom Jenkins as Richard C. Tolman, Ruth's husband, and General Groves, chief scientific advisors on the Manhattan Project, and Ole Haskivy as Edward Condon, a nuclear physicist who helped with the development of radar and Verify took part in the Manhattan Project. David Reichels as Donald Horling, a chemist who worked on the firing unit at Los Alamos, and Josh Peck as Kenneth Bainbridge, a psychist, physicist who was the director of the Manhattan Project's Trinity nuclear test. Jack White as Richard's famed name, an American Nobel-winning theoretical physicist who worked in the theoretical divisions at Los Alamos, and Gustav Skarsgård as Heinz Bethe, a German-American Nobel-winning theoretical physicist and the head of the theoretical division of Los Alamos. James Urbaniak as Kurt Gödel, a Australian logician and mathematician known for the theorems that revolutionized mathematics and had far-reaching implications for philosophy and computer science. Anton Foja as Georgia Kistikowski, a Ukrainian-born Harvard professor who took part in the Manhattan Project, and Devon Bostick as said Nedermeyer, a physicist who discovered the moon and advocated for the implosions type unclear weapon used in the Trinity test, and Danny De Ferrari as Enrico Fermi as Italian Nobel-winning physicist and creator of the Chicago File. Christopher Denham as Cleos Fuchs, a German-born physicist who worked on the Manhattan projects and spied for the Soviet Union, and Jessica Erin Martin as Charlotte Servers, head technical librarian at Los Alamos, and Ronald Auguste as Ernest Wilkins Jr., an African American unclear scientist, mechanical engineers, and mathematicians who worked with Oppenheimer's on the Manhattan Project, and Mete Homan as Leo Szilárd, a Hungarian physicist who conceived the idea of nuclear chain reaction in 1933, and later in July 1945, at the Chicago branch of the Manhattan Project, circulated the petitions in 1993 and later in July 1945. At the Chicago branch of the Manhattan Project, circulated the petitions to President Truman against unannounced use of atomic weapon on Japan. Olivia Trilby as Lily Horning, she's an American scientist who worked on the Manhattan Project. Jack Cutmore Scott as Lyle Johnson's security officers at uh, Berkeley, who worked at the Manhattan Projects. Harrison Gilbertsons as Philip Morrison's a physics professor who worked on the Manhattan Project, and James Remers as Henry L. Stimson's Secretary of War under President Truman, and Will Robert as Georgia C. Marshall's the United States Army Chief of Staff from 1939 to 1945. Pat Skipper as James F. Barney as Secretary of State and future Governor, and Gary Oldman as Harris Truman, the 33rd President of the United States, who made the decisions to drop the two atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August 1945. Hep Lawrence as Lyndon B. Johnson, the 36th President of the United States. Troy Bronson as Joseph V. Kennedy, a chemist instrumentals on discovery of pollution and head of the chemistry department of Los Alamos. Now let's talk about on production. Let's start the development. Director Sam Madness was interested in adapting the 2005 J. Robert Oppenheimer's biography American Prometheus by Kai Burt and Martin J. Sherwin. After that project failed to materialize, the book was optioned by various filmmakers over the next 15 years, and over the next 15 years the author becomes pessimistic about film adaptations, and Oliver Stone declined on opportunity to direct, saying I couldn't find my way to a sense in 2015. J. David Vargo options the book, then commissioned and rejected several scripts, and during the COVID-19 pandemic, Vargo flew to Hollywood to meet with actor James Wood, and just wait for a second. Who set up a meeting with Charles Rowan, a producer for various Christopher Nolan films, and in turn, Raven gave a copy of the book to Nolan. Both Vargo and just wait. Vargo and Woods are executive producers of the film, and here you can see a picture. Kybert Pictures and Martin J. Sherwin are the author of and author of J. Robert Oppenheimer's biography American Prometheus 2005, on which the film is based. And now Woods said he was asked not to promote the film because his outspoken political views posed risks to the film's commercial success and award campaign. And Nolan had long desires to make a film about Oppenheimer. Even even just wait for a couple of seconds, and even prior to reading American Prometheus in 2019, and 2019, towards the end of productions on Nolan's science fiction films Tenet 2020, and star Robert Pattinson gave him a book of Oppenheimer's speeches. According according to the according to Nolan's, the speeches sold Oppenheimer wrestling with the implications of what's happened and what he's done, and Nolan wanted to depict what it would have been like to be Oppenheimer in those moments, in contrast to Tenet. And yes, which employs time travel to curb a potential weapon of mass destruction. And in December 2020, Warner Bros. Pictures announced, here's something else, and yes, announced plans to give its 2021 films simultaneous released in theaters and on HBO Max, citing the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the films industry. And it's just wait for a second. Nolan, who had partnered with Warner Bros. On each of his films since Insomnia 2002, was outraged as he was a staunch supporter of traditional film and exhibition and in January 2021, media reports mentions the possibility that Nolan's next films could be the first not to be financed or distributed by Warner Bros. By mid 2021, and Nolan had left Warner Bros. and was meeting with other studios to develop his new project.
This is
Nolan
confusing line.
had previously.
That your eyes is very
Yes,
because this line
yes,
is very uncompatible. You
yes.
cannot see your eyes is very confusing. Very. This is
Supported Warner
first
Bros.
time that is
decisions to.
looking. This is amazing. Uh, what I can do.
This is line very helpful for me because one time I was checking my phone and seeing here I was already know the word is in the line, and Wonder Woman 1984 2020 a simultaneous release.
Yes, brother. What? Can I help you? I'm going to Gori. You can go.
Why?
Hair cuttings and
Beard. No.
they are not.
Now we are eating food.
Huh?
Now we are eating food
Yes.
outside the room. Okay, let's. I'm also
Towards
come
them. Come on.
properly, but said he had been executed for any discussions regarding the postponed release of Tenet and yeah. In September 2021, it was announced that Nolan would write and direct biographical films about Oppenheimer and his contributions to the Manhattan Projects, which Cillian's movie is negotiations to star due to his strained relationships with Warner Bros. Nolan approached multiple studios, including Sony, Universal's, Paramount, and Apple, according to Insider. Paramount was ruled out early in the process due to the replacement of the CEO and chairman Jim Ganopoulos with Brian Robin and advocate for increased streaming service releases. Okay, and it's gonna be very crazy. It's gonna be very crazy. Nolan signs with Universal because he had previously worked with Donna Langley, chairwoman and chief content officers of the NBC Universal Studio Group, and it's just wait for a second. Crazy, crazy, crazy. And on an unsuccessful attempt to make a film version of the British television series The Prisoner, Langley agreed with Nolan's stance on where I was. Traditional film exhibitions and Universals agreed to finance and distribute Oppenheimers with productions as to begin in the first quarter of 2022. Universal also agreed to Universal also agreed to so here you can see Nolan's terms, which included a production's budget of $100 million, an equal marketing budget, and exclusive theatrical window ranging from 90 to 120 days. 20% of the films 20% of the films and just wait for a couple of seconds and it's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be very crazy. And first dollar gross and a 3 week period both before and after the opening. After the opening, so just wait. After the opening, in which Universal could not release another view films and so now let's talk about turn writing. Nolan's become aware of Oppenheimer and aware of Oppenheimer and so here you can see yes, now it's going very crazy, going to be very crazy. As a youth, after hearing the lyric, how can I save my little boy from Oppenheimer's deadly toy in the Sting song Russians 1985, he was also inspired fears of by fears of just wait for a couple of seconds and it's a wrong move. Nuclear holocaust throughout childhood as he lived during the era of campaign for nuclear disarmament, CND, and the anti-nuclear protest in RAF agreement common, and he felt that while our relationship with that nuclear fear has ebbed and flowed with time. ebbed and flowed with time, and so it's fluid with time. The threat itself never actually went away and felt the 2022 Russian invasion of Ukraine had caused a resurgence of nuclear anxiety. Nolan had also penned a script for a biopic of Howard, and so now I'm just, oh man. So here you can see the approximately during the time of productions of Martin Scorsese's The Avatar 2004, which had given him insight on how to write a script regarding a person's life. Amity Blunt described the Oppenheimer script as emotional and remarked that Nolan had thrown hosed biopic into a thriller. Okay, and just wait for a couple of seconds. Okay, okay, crazy. It's crazy, 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 crazy. And by September 2021, both Rowan and Nolan had begin contacting Bird and Sherwin to discuss the script. During Bird's first meeting with Nolan, he had already written a spec script while they discussed the script's content. All through, Nolan did not disclose the script to them yet. Oppenheimer in the first screenplay written by Nolan in the first person, as he wanted to narrative to be conveyed from Oppenheimer's perspective. He describes the textures of the film being how the personal interacts with the historical and the geographical with the. Here you can see the three pictures. Writer, director, and producer Christopher Nolan in the left, this one, and co-producer Emma Thomas and Charlene Robbins, with the intentions of making it a cautionary tale. And he begins. He begin. Just wait for a couple of seconds, and it's just gonna be crazy. And he began developing the script after the completed Tenet and wrote it only a few months, and he had already been thinking about making a film about Oppenheimer for over 20 years. Over 20 years, and And a major plot element is Oppenheimer's response to the long term consequences of his actions. And and tried to Nolan's tried to wished to explore the phenomenon of delayed reactions as he felt people are not necessarily confronted with the or strongest or roast element and strongest roast element and it's gonna be very crazy. Everything is gone with this move and okay. He also chose to alternate between scenes in color and black and white to convey the story from both subjective and objective perspectives, respectively, with most of Oppenheimer's views shown via the former, while the latter depicts a more objective view of his story from a different character's point of view and it's wanting to make the film as subjective as possible. The production team decided to include visions of Oppenheimer's and it's gonna be crazy. Conceptions of the quantum world and waves of energy and Nolan noted that while Oppenheimer's never publicly why you are singing song conceptions of the quantum world and waves of energy, Nolan noted that while Oppenheimer never publicly apologized for these roles and in the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, he still believes Oppenheimer had felt genuine guilt for his reactions and okay, that's good. Actions the sport portrayed him exhibiting those feelings and exhibiting those feelings, and it's so that's the over from here. And Nolan begins by trying to find the threat, and Nolan begins by trying to find the thread that connected the quantum realm, the vibrations of energy, and Oppenheimer's own personal journey, and sought to portray the difficulties in his life, particularly regarding his sex life, as such. Nolan wanted to candidly portray his affair with Jean Tatlock. He also wanted to explore Tatlock's influence on Oppenheimer's lab since he was a communist, which had enormous ramifications of Oppenheimer's later life. And so wait for seconds. And oh, yes, yes, that's good. That's good. And his ultimate fate. Yes, 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 yes. That's the thing I want, and that happened. It's gonna be very crazy for me also. And now I'm just want to move this green. Okay, okay, okay. It's happening. It's happening. And between Oppenheimer and Admiral Lewis Strauss, former chair of the U.S. Atomic Energy Commissions, having been inspired by the relationships between Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart and Antonio Salieri as depicted in Amadeus 1994. And here the one things was written. I think of any character I have dealt with, Oppenheimer is by far the most ambitious and paradoxical, which given that I have made these Batman films is saying a lot, and this was said by Christopher Nolan told films. And another critical movement of the films was film was, and that was the end. Meeting in the street. Yes, the one moment that was clear. Film was the meeting in which President Harry And astronomer called Oppenheimer's crybaby Nolan. Mm, Nolan wanted to convey the scene from Oppenheimer's perspective and felt it was a massive moment of disillusions and a huge turning point for Oppenheimer in his approach to trying to deal with the consequences of what and just wait for a couple of seconds and it's gonna be crazy. Had been involved with while also underscoring that it is a huge shift in perceptions about the reality of Oppenheimer's perceptions. He wanted to execute a quick tonal shift after the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, desiring to go from the highest triumphalism, the highest high, to the lowest low in the. Okay, okay, that's good. That's better. That's good. That's better. Amount of screen time possible and possible and for the ending, Nolan chose to make it intentionally vague to be open in interpretations and refrained from being didactic or conveying specific messages in his work. However, he did have the intentions to present a strong shot. A strong shot, and it's okay, okay, okay. It's something happening and sad to troubling reverberations at the end. Now let's talk about the casting. Oppenheimer marks the sixth collaborator between Nolan and Cillian Murphy, and the first starring Murphy as the lead, the prepare and yes, yes, yes. That's what I want. To prepare the role, Murphy read extensively on Oppenheimer's life and was inspired by David Bowie's appearances in the 1970s. Nolan called Murphy one day to ask him to play the part, and Murphy, yes, that's what I want. Enthusiastically accepted, existed to play a lead role in Nolan's films. Afterward, Nolan flew to Dublin to meet the Murphy, who read the script in Nolan's hotel room, and and that's what I want. So now what I can do? Yo, man, that's not happening. It's gonna be very crazy. And Murphy lost an undisclosed undisclosed amount of weight for the role in order to better match and the real life Oppenheimer's grand appearance. Nolan also set up a phone call between Murphy and Nobel's laureate Kip Thorne, who had previously worked with Nolan's on Interstellar. As a graduate, as a graduate student, Throne had attended some of Oppenheimer's seminars and explained to Murphy his experience with Oppenheimer's gift for facilitating group and disguises of difficult scientific concepts, and the casting process was so creative that some cast members did not know which roles they would be playing until they signed on. Robert Downey Jr.'s Matt Damon and Emily Blunt took pay cuts to work on the films, with each earning $4 million in lieu of their usual $10 to $20 million upfront salary. Downway went through and went to Nolan's house to read the script, which was printed in black on red paper. Downey would later describe Oppenheimer as the best film in which yes, it's happening. Okay, okay, that's good. That's good, and that what I want. Which he has appeared to date and Downey previously met with Nolan's for the role of Jonathan Crane and Screenviews in Batman Begins. But Nolan felt Downey was not right for the role, which went to Murphy, and it's gonna be very crazy, crazy, crazy. And okay, okay, okay. Blunt met Nolan's in Los Angeles, and when she was offered, oh, oh, it was offered the role of Catherine Kitty Oppenheimer. She enthusiastically accepted, and she also contacted Murphy's to get an expectations about working with Nalon. Would be like asked to play the part of Leslie Groves and Damon, who had appeared in Nolan's Interstellar, was taking a break from acting as a result of negotiations with his wife Luciana Burgess Barroso in couples. And just wait for couple of second. Okay, this is gonna be very crazy. Okay, this is gonna be very crazy. And just wait, just wait, just wait. His wife Luciana Bonzan Barroso. Okay, what's that I want? Here is what that's I want. This is the craziest. In couples therapy, but signed on the Oppenheimer as he had reserved one exceptions if Nolan offered him a role in a film. Nolan cast writer-director Benny Safdie as physicist Edward Taylor after asking director Paul Thomas Anderson about his experience directing Safdie in Licorice Pizza 2021 and 2021 and Yes. And Safety had worked alongside a nuclear physicist at Columbia University while in high school. It is Nolan's first film since Insomnia to not feature Michael Scanley, Glenn Powell, additional, and was rejected for the role that yes. One more chance. No, it's gone. Went to Josh Hartnett and for Harry's Truman appearances, Nolan sought his collaborators Gary Oldman, and yes, that I want. Oh no, who was on a break from filming the Apple and I have only six moves and it's TV series Slow Horses, and Old Man told Nolan that he was contractually aligned to not cut to hair and either he could play Truman with a prosthetic cap and a wig or get someone else to play the part, which Nolan agreed. And now let's talk about on the filming and pre-productions had begins by January 2022 in New Mexico, where a two-day casting call took place in Santa Fe and Los Alamos for people to auditions to play local residents and military personnel and scientists. Another casting call was held in February and the principal's photography began on February 28, 2022. Only 10 minutes at Ghost Ranch in New Mexico and it lasted for 57 days, which Fix 11 on Fix 11 with Hoiste Van Hoytema serving as cinematographers and the original shooting schedule had set aside approximately 85 days for filming, and however during pre-productions it had becomes clear that principal's photography could not be completed within $100 million over that many days on locations all over the United and all over the United and And just wait for a couple of seconds. And states the efficiently. mm, Efficiently used the budget for location shooting in California and New Jersey and constructing high quality historically accurate sets in New Mexico. London compressed the shooting schedule from shooting schedule from 85 to 57 and 85 to 57 days. Murphy, who appears in nearly every scene, described the piece as insane. An old man said he would be on set for a day in May for one season's one page and a half, and the original choice for Oval Office location in the nation. And the nation, and it's okay, okay. Nixon Presidential's library fell through a week before filming, and since Oldman's dates were unmovable, the production design team redressed the Oval Office set from the HBO series. And HBO series, and it's gonna be crazy. Which, according to Ruth, their jog had fallen into nightmares. Disappears. Nolan filmed the eldest child, his daughter Flora, in a scene in which she plays a young woman disintegrated in a nuclear explosion. Explosions and okay, okay, okay. What that I want and okay. It is helpful me and it appears. Okay, okay. It appears in the films as one of the Oppenheimer's vision, in which Nolan intended to show that if you create the ultimate destructive power, it will also destroy those who are near and the near to you. And the film used combinations of IMAX 65 mm and 65 mm large format film, and it is also a first. It is also a first. I have a 7 moves, and it's mm, first film to shoot sections on IMAX black and white and photographic films which Kodak created and Photocam developed specifically for the films, and when Hoytema used 50 mm and 80 mm Hasselblad built lenses, and when filming on the IMAX cameras while sensors and shot on the Panavision's Panaflex System 65 Studios camera. And were shot using okay using Panavision Hero 65 and Panavision System 65 lenses. Additionally, the production had Panavision constructs a custom probe lens to allow the filmmakers to use cameras for macro photography and macro photography and microphotography to record the miniature effects, and miniatures were filmed with IMAX cameras at 48 frames per second, and while miniatures needing higher speed were shot on Super 35 mm film with an Arriflex 435 ES camera at 150 frames per second, and in a second week of April, filming took place on location at the Institute for Advanced Study in Princeton's New Jersey, and filming also occurred in California, primarily around the campus of the University of California, Berkeley. Since set in the city of Berkeley itself, were filmed in Pasadena. During a 21st research trip, Nolan discovered that Los Alamos had drastically changes from its 1940s appearances, and could not be used for exterior shots of the town. For example, the town's equipment of a main street has a Starbucks. Instead, the production team constructed a version of 1940s era Los Alamos on top of a similar plateau at Ghost Ranch. It took 3 months to build the set, which was used for only 6 shooting days, and the general plans was to shoot only exterior shots on the set at Ghost Ranch and then shoot interior shots on location inside various historical buildings in the real town of Los Alamos. Interior shooting in Los Alamos begins on March 8, 2022. Many scenes in the films take place in academic lectures halls to save time and money. The productions team decided against attempting to deconstruct those halls as set as ghost ranch and shot them inside a historic women's army corps dormitory in Los Alamos. Scenes were also filmed in Oppenheimer's original cabin in Los Alamos, which had been restored. Kai Bird visited the set and was impressed by Murphy's performances, and the New York hotel scenes were shot in Albuquerque's old post office building, while the Washington DC scenes were shot in state government buildings in the state capitals of Santa Fe. All through the news coverage surrounding the film's release implied that most of the film was shot in New Mexico. The official making of book Unleashing Oppenheimer revealed that many of the film's most important scenes were shot within the studio zone in Los Angeles County. Early on, 3 days were set aside for filming at UCLA's Kerckhoff Hall, which was used for both the Cambridge and Göttingen scenes. The Millennium Betamos Hotel in downtown Los Angeles stood in for the Mark Hopkins hotels for one of the Oppenheimer's encounters with talks for the Plaza Hotels for Strush at the 1949 birthday celebration, and for an unnamed Washington DC hotel for the scenes where Seizard and Hill try to get Oppenheimers to sign a potentials again, dropping the bombs on Japan. And here was for the today's video. I hope you are loving this, and if you are loved this, then like our video, subscribe our channel, and let's meet in the next video. Thanks for the watching. Goodbye everyone.